I wasn't sure it was coming on there.
You broke it.
I was like, hey, considering the fact that I just had to restart all this like 2 minutes and 40 seconds ago, then yeah, I wasn't sure.
Well, you'll have that.
Well, it's what you get for running Windows 10. So
I know. I probably am running Windows 10.
Oh, he's up to 10 now?
Yeah, because that's how many fingers I have. I can't go to 11.
Not on this anyway.
Before anybody asks, McTaggart is not going to be joining us tonight. He's having some pet problems with the kitties at home, so or one of them. So him and Haley are on vigilant duty with the cat, and so we're hoping that the kitty is okay. So he is not going to be here tonight to talk about his favorite subject, LS swaps. Yeah, this is awesome.
He's gonna miss out.
What's behind you right now there, Crosby? Ooh, Riviera. Nice.
Ironically, what does it have under the hood?
An LS. Well, yeah. Nobody in their right. I could actually.
And what does the other car have under the hood?
Yes, both non-Chevrolets with LSs.
And the Cord in the background too. Also,
yeah, that's true.
LSA in it.
The the wonderful world of LS engines. So we're going to talk about that in a little bit. Wickman actually suggesting the topic tonight. Before I forget, so next week on the Triple B podcast, we are going to be talking with Doug Foley Jr. and maybe Larry Morgan as well, who Larry Morgan obviously needs no introduction, pro stock guru of all time. And now one of the bigwigs at IHRA, Doug Foley Jr., also working at IHRA. And, obviously he runs his dad's Top Fuel program, or part of it at least. And So he is going to join us. And like I said, maybe Larry as well. We're going to talk to them tomorrow to figure that out. But 2 weeks from now, we are going to be talking about an interesting subject. We're going to be talking about takeovers and sideshows with the king of sideshows, Alex Hernandez, our friend, aka Sleepy, who is out of Northern California at a Sac Speed Shop. He is the one that puts on all of the Burnout Pit and all of that at LS Fest West, and is an awesome dude. Known Alex for a few years. He's a great guy, fun Northern California guy, and he's got some really exciting stuff that he's working on as well. But Crosby had brought up the whole takeover and sideshow thing, and as far as all the stuff that's on the streets, it's just insane right now, and not great for the sport. And so it'll be interesting to talk to Alex because he runs in both circles, so it'll be fun to see. So make sure you tune in for that one. It's going to be good. Want to say hello to Lycan and Barnalicious. I don't know if Neil is in the house yet, but Neil will be live from St. Louis this weekend as he is going to be streaming the Verge race. It's a collaboration between Bang Shift and Motor Mania TV. So you can find it on the Motor Mania TV YouTube channel. And I will be here in Texas doing LS Fest Texas. And so it's, going to be a shit show of a weekend. So woohoo and stuff. Yay. Yeah.
Steal me some parts for doing an LS swap for my truck.
Says the guy
like
who...
an LS?
Yeah, the guy who says, hey, we should talk about LSs because, they're dumb or whatever.
Go, they are. I'm just trying to be there like everybody else.
Gotcha.
I'm not a leader. I'm a follower.
We know. Okay, so chime in the chat, whether you're on Facebook or YouTube or whatever. You can put your comments in, and they will show up in front of us. Then the guy who got a hot oil hair treatment today says hello. That's awesome. Okay.
Do you know what sucks? It's like the whole, I don't think he's figured out the whole gravity thing yet.
Right.
With things falling.
Yeah.
So, of course, I can't say much with about falling down and shit. So
yeah, exactly. So you're
just an expert at gravity. That's all.
Yes,
right.
Exactly.
I just wanted to prove that the theory is correct.
There you go. I like it.
We're just going to call you Apple from now on.
Yeah. That's pretty good. Okay, so raise your hand if you're a fan of LS swaps. Yeah, okay. Raise your hand if you're a fan of all the swaps. Yeah, I don't really care. I like them. I mean, I have some favorites. I think that if you swap a Coyote into almost anything, you are a different kind of special and touched and all those things. You're like Peschel with a no S. But with that said, they're awesome engines. Like they make crazy power and all those things. Although, 12 feet of timing chain is still dumb, no matter how you slice it. But yeah, Coyotes make really big power, but they also are giant. It is literally easier to put a tall deck 632 big block Chevrolet into most things than it is a Coyote because they are that fat. It's unreal. So they just don't fit great. Mayo Sturgill in the house. Glad to have you over here, dude. McTaggart, who's not here, he's doing a Gen 3 Hemi swap in his wrong year Charger, which is turning out really cool. He's using some parts from a couple of different manufacturers, Holley being one of them, for some accessory drive stuff and all this. But because of the fact that McTaggart is a wrong year Charger guy, and I'm saying that jokingly and serious because that's what we call it. But it's his car isn't the one that the swap kits are made for. So a bunch of the stuff is like the same as a bunch of other cars, but a couple of little things are different. And so he's had to go with some different suppliers and had to get creative on a few things. But ultimately, this last week, he did some test fitting, and that thing looks like it's, it's going in nice,
But Mopars, depending on the day of the week and whether it was before lunch or after lunch, is what K member or whatever they had in them. So,
oh yeah,
anybody that has a small block and a big block transmission is just wackadoodles.
right. I agree. Yeah, here's I'll share pictures of McTaggart's setup here. This is
you can
all
take an
just
Iron
going.
Duke 4-cylinder up to a 6.6 liter Duramax, and all the transmissions will bolt on the back of them.
Correct.
With some minor inner adapters.
Oh yeah, you're talking about
thing.
stuff to space things. That's it.
Oh yeah, but
yeah. So here's McTaggart's
like
Wrong
the
Your
Hemi,
Charger, and here's his Gen 3 Hemi. The motor mounts are creative and unique for this car. He's got a TKX 5-speed that will go behind this thing. But with
which are
the
awesome,
logs,
by the way.
Oh yeah, he loves it, and had it behind the original 360 in this thing, but the 368 itself on Power Tour this year, which was unfortunate. But he's got the Holley accessory drive unit up here, and had to do some playing around to get things to fit where they need to go. But ultimately, it works. I think he said the only thing he had to do was on, I believe it was this on the driver's side, the very front corner of the front tube for the number one cylinder, he had to make a little dimple in the stainless header to give it a little clearance, but that was it. He's got wiring to deal with and all that, but he repainted, the top of the core support, did the inner fenders and all of that stuff in the firewall. And so this thing's going to be fun. It'll be a driver, and that's what he wants it to be. And that's the, for the people that are critical of, LS swaps, the same reason for doing an LS swap as doing a Gen 3 Hemi swap, right? These Gen 3 Hemis make stupid power for what they are. This one's only a 5.7. They still make way more power than this thing did factory. Mayo, no, it's a Charger. If you go on bangshift.com and look up Charger, Wrong Your Charger, you'll see the whole build of this car. But this thing will make twice the power it ever made without doing anything to this engine, let alone the other stuff that's planned for it. And then it does that, and at the same time gets at least twice the gas mileage. It's hard to argue. And it doesn't matter whether it's an LS or it's a Gen 3 Hemi. It's the same, it's the same reasoning. You know what I mean? So
I don't know squat about Gen 3 Hemis. I just know that seems to be the engine that's the choice for Mopar swaps. What is that thing rated at? Is it like touching 400 horsepower wise at the crank?
I don't remember what I'll look it up.
They're in the upper threes, I think.
That's what I was going to say. I think they're 3 something. Yeah.
But they have a crap load of torque.
Oh yeah, and they were the 5.7 Hemi made between 340 and 380 horse, I guess.
Okay.
Depending on or 395, depending on the year of them, apparently. And this one came out of a police car that McTaggart was able to score the whole police car for a really good deal. It was a couple of grand. I don't remember exact, but like $2,500 or $3,000 or something like that.
Really?
Yeah, and it was a good enough deal that his wife Haley went, when do we leave to go get this? Because the engine and trans were worth that. So he bought it pulled the engine and harness and ECU and everything out of it, sold the transmission to somebody else, sold a bunch of other parts off of it to other people, and all said and done, I think he's got less than $1,000 in getting this engine.
Nice.
So that's a smart way to go. And I tell people all the time, like, me and Steven bought a Crosby remembers this. I bought the what we called the right turn Silverado because it looked like it was turning right while it was sitting still because it had been T-boned so hard. The funny thing is, everything was aimed the right direction. It just looked like it was bent in half because it was so smashed on the side. But we went, they said this thing runs, but it's not great. And we went and looked at it. It had a flat tire. We changed the tire, got the thing to start up. The thing sounded like it had a couple of injectors that weren't happy. So it was missing, but it was clearly okay. Literally did a burnout in these people's driveway next to their house at like 10 o'clock at night, drove it out the driveway and on the trailer. And they didn't think it would run to get it on the trailer. And it drove onto the trailer. We proceeded to put some ATF in the gas tank and a little bit of ATF in the oil to free up lifters. We determined it had a couple of lifters that weren't happy too. And so a little ATF everywhere, and it cleaned the injectors and got the lifters going. If you have one that does that, all you do is run it for like 10 or 15 minutes till it comes up to operating temp and shut it off and let it sit for an hour or so and cool back down and then start it back up again. The detergent and the ATF will break the sticky lifters loose. And I'm not talking about if you have DOD failure lifters. I'm just talking regular lifters. But that's the same thing we did on Crosby's Corvette. What, remember the Corvette was, I mean, that thing had sat for how many years in the backyard of those people's house?
Since 83.
Yeah. And this was in what, 2015 that you got it or something? Or no, later than that.
2016, I think.
Yeah. And literally Crosby calls me and says, "Hey dude, do you have a quadrajet?" And I said, "Yeah."
Oh, I forgot about that.
Remember? He goes, "Do you have a quadrajet?" And I go, "Yeah, I have several." And he goes, "Okay, well, I just got this Corvette. It's got a quadrajet on it. I don't want to have to rebuild the carburetor. If you've got one, I want to see if this thing will run." So we fired it up in his shop. It fired right up. Did not run on all cylinders, and it clattered. But we put ATF in the oil. We ran it for about 15 or 20 minutes. It was smoking pretty good. Shut it off. Drank a beer. Started it back up, let it run for 10 or 15 minutes. Basically, we were a beer of running, 2 beers not running, a beer running, 2 beers not running. Within like 3 hours, the thing was idling perfect and was a perfectly happy camp. Didn't smoke anymore, no nothing. So, small block Chevrolet for the win.
And then Jay put that motor in that 69 Chevelle he had.
Yes, exactly.
And that thing went down the road happy as pig and poop.
Well, remember the 283 that I pulled out of Daphne's car? Jay put that. He resealed the whole motor and painted it, and then put it in to a little Nova or something, wasn't it?
I think it was.
Yeah, I think it was a little Nova, and that he sold. And that thing, I mean, it ran great. It just leaked oil from every orifice, So yeah, but it was awesome. So yeah, and here we are talking about swaps. Meanwhile, we're talking about how all these engines were run forever. I mean, Richard's in here saying Chad's 6-liter with 250 made 1482, or at least the stock short block did. It actually had 279,000 miles on it. And yes, Richard is absolutely right. The 6-liter Big Bang, the first one was done with that engine. And so I, took it over to Richie's. He put heads, cam, intake, turbos, all the things on it. And I couldn't be there that day, right? When it was running. And Richard calls me and goes, "Dude, it made 1482. And I went, slacking bastard couldn't make 1483. And we laughed like little girls. But that was a 2000 model 6-liter. The very first year of the 6-liter, it had iron heads on it. And so we put heads on it and everything. Oh, and ring gap. That's right. Added some ring gap. That thing was in a 3/4 ton Suburban that I would still probably own if it hadn't gotten T-boned in total. So, yeah.
Ironically, one of my neighbors, completely out of the area, ran into you.
That is true, and it was funny because, like, older couple, very nice, and it was an accident. They didn't mean to run into me, and you know, I mean, it was just one of those things, dude. It was an accident, and I felt bad for them because they were so upset, and you know, rightfully so. And while the tow truck was picking up my junk to haul it away, I was over helping them get the bumper off of their car so they could still drive it home because it hadn't smashed up the radiator or anything, so they could actually get going down the road. And they were so thankful that I was actually helping them, you know, meanwhile, like Daphne and the kids and we were on our way to Cole's birthday party or something. And
yeah, that's right.
Remember, we had Suburban was full of kids. So yeah, that was great. Having to call people's parents and go, yeah, so we were in an accident. Your kid's cool, but you're going to need to come get him.
they're bleeding profusely, but other than that,
exactly.
Everything's good.
Yeah. Okay, so anyway.
I'm looking for another picture here.
We digress. But yeah, LS swaps. So, I mean, Richard's in here. Richard can attest to this. If you buy a 5.3 and you put a camshaft in it, the thing's going to make close to 400 horsepower. I mean, you know, I'll tell you, Matt Graves has that awesome Pro Touring, like 75 or whatever it is, Cadillac, that is, was on the cover of Hot Rod Magazine. And it's, you know, I mean, it's an awesome car and it's a Pro Touring car and it's got a 6-speed in it and an LS swap and all the stuff. And, it's an 83, sorry. And this thing had a 427 cubic inch, World Products engine in it. And he had some trouble with it and it hurt a couple of things on it. So he took it out. And so, he took, a junkyard 5.3, put a Truck Norris cam in it and proceeded to, you know, put it back in front of the Magnum 6-speed in it and everything. And I just was in this car a couple of weeks ago with that combo. And this car weighs like 4,000 pounds. It's a riot with just a 5.3 and a cam and the 6-speed. Like, it's fun. I mean, it's totally fun. Like, it really, if you want to beat it up, sure, more power is great. But it's a riot the way it is, like an absolute riot. And this thing's just cool, you know? So yeah, not a requirement to have 8 million horsepower. And when you can put a cam in a 5.3 and get that kind of power, it's kind of hard to argue with it, you know? Richard's asking, isn't that what a new Camaro weighs? Yeah, pretty close to it. I think the brand new Camaros are a little lighter than that, but not a lot. Yeah, Mike Brooks in the house. What's up, Mikey? Yeah, I mean, you know, the 5.3 is a great engine. It's not a race engine until it has 100,000 miles on it. I'm just saying. They don't put it in the catalog, but what you're doing is for 100,000 miles, you're honing the cylinders to perfection. And so it's not a race engine till it's got at least 100K on it. So,
yeah, Alan, my friend in Chicago, I mean, he's got a warehouse full of Gen 3s and Gen 4s.
Yeah.
That he can't seem to sell because everyone wants something newer and fewer miles.
Really?
As the customers say.
And what are the average mileages on the ones that he's selling?
Anywhere from, I've seen them as low as 150 up to pushing 300.
Yeah.
So,
like
it
I said,
on when the truck rusts out is what it basically comes down to.
Right. But and yeah, because he's up there in Rustville. So
yeah,
I mean, like I said, that's no BS. The 6-liter out of my Suburban had 279,000 miles on it when it was crashed. So
and it was just broke in.
Yeah, it ran perfectly fine. It was a again, an iron-headed 6-liter. It had nothing done to the engine whatsoever. It had a cold air kit on it, I think, which does nothing. But it was on 33-inch tires and had a lift spindle in the front, and 411 gears and a 4L80. That 4L80 is in Daphne's car and has been, well over 1,000 horsepower in front of it. So yeah.
I sent you some interesting swap pictures, including the Nomax.
Oh yeah. So I guess the big thing. So what are you seeing, Wickman, that made you question, are LS swaps just meh now or what?
I've been seeing that. Watching Mighty Car Mods and Ben Neal, that they call the mechanical Stig, with engine swaps, and like one of them stated that the 1UZ, which is the V8, that Toyota had, could be phenomenal engine, but it's just there is no aftermarket support for them. I mean, you can do a tune, headers, and intake, and that's basically it. I mean, that RB20s, 26s are so priced out now that they're basically, if you can get one that hasn't been used in a drift car, it is somewhat stock, then I mean you want to hold on to it, just because you're seeing later on down the road that people are going to want to restore 180SXs and R31s, 32s, 33 Skylines, and want these engines when the other ones crap out. So it's like, there again, 2JZ, 1JZ. I mean, those are to the point of getting to RB20s and 26s. And another thing that Ben talked about was on Adam's podcast last week, was that the Barra was basically in everything in Australia. They didn't get the aluminum head, steel headed Gen 3, Gen 4 LSs. Everything was aluminum down there. So right. Those price themselves out. But like he's talking about, that's why there was so much with the Barra, just because it was basically kind of like how the small block Chevy was to us in the 80s and 90s. I mean, that's what everyone had, what everyone used.
Yeah, but that's with all the supporting parts. That's where the LS comes into play more than even the Gen 3 Hemis.
And because down there, the Barra has that. The Barra has that extent support and aftermarket.
Yeah, it does there. Exactly.
Yeah. Well, to the point, they're making full-blown aluminum blocks and heads for these things now.
Yeah, same thing with the LSs, though.
Yeah. And one of the things, though, to me about it, it's like, you bring up the UF and all of that. Like the other day, my buddy Eric Carroll was showing me the UZ series of engines that are in the Lexus, the Lexuses, Lexus. I think it's the UZ. Anyway, it's the V8 that comes in the Lexus RCF and GSF, I guess they are. And he referred to it as a Toyota, I think is what he called it, because it's when you take the engine cover off of it, it looks just like a Coyote. And it It's like a coyote, but with timing belts because, chains are dumb. And it's just a double overhead cam deal. It makes 485 horsepower or something like that, he said. And in 100% stock trim, it runs 1280s all day, every day. It's run 1250s one time when literally the DA was like 500 feet below sea level because it was super cold. And it went 1250 something. And it's a 4-door luxury sedan, like sporty luxury sedan. But that engine's awesome. But like you said, how do you control all that stuff? I mean, you're talking about variable valve timing and all that stuff in this. And so being able to control all of that for the average person is a challenge. And that's where where the LS and now the Gen 3 Hemi and these other things happen.
That's easy.
Do what?
Somebody like Scott Clark, that's easy.
Correct.
Well, like Maddie at Haltech down in Australia, I mean, they've got all that stuff figured out already. But it's just a matter of do you want to spend that kind of money to get that? I mean, Haltech's not cheap if you want to go the full on like one-off route. I mean,
there's all kinds of stuff that can be done. I agree.
Yes.
What I do disagree with, for bang for the buck, an LS, and I used to be anti-LS. I was always a small block guy.
Yeah.
But bang for the buck, horsepower per dollar, you can't beat an LS, period. I don't care what anybody says.
And I agree. And I think one thing, though, that people get caught up on, too, on engine. So a guy that all three of us know, and it doesn't matter, I'm not going to say who it is, built a project that was a Model A Ford, which is not important to this. Anyway, built a car for a customer using an EcoBoost V6, but wanted it to be all-wheel drive and decided that they were going to use the transmission and all the drivetrain from Nissan GTR. And everybody said, you're never going to be able to do that because the GTR is very finicky and you can't control any of the transmission and the drivetrain and everything with an aftermarket ECU, blah, blah, blah. Now, keep in mind, before you go, oh no, so-and-so makes a thing for that or whatever, this was 7 years ago, 8 years ago. Okay. That's key. And he called me and I talked to him about it and he said, what do you think? Blah, blah, blah. And I said, run the EcoBoost with the GTR instead of running the GTR drivetrain with the EcoBoost. And he went, oh, holy crap. The engine is a V6. The GTR is a V6. The engine has a turbo. The GTR has a turbo. If the GTR can't read the sensor from the Ford because the sensor is a different voltage or what have you for, let's say, oil pressure or throttle position, then put another sensor in it.
Yeah.
It's not, they don't know. The ECU only knows what sensors you give it. So if you take a Holley ECU or a Haltech or a GM or a Nissan or any of those, and you give it the inputs that it needs to do its job, and the outputs are going to a thing, in this case, throttle body, fuel injectors, etc., timing, coils, all that it can communicate with, then it will run it, and it doesn't care what the manufacturer is, right?
Anything OBD2 is basically Delphi.
That's
anyway,
true,
isn't it?
A lot of it is, yes.
Because
and
it's all licensed.
It's just not as rocket science as people make it out to be sometimes. And so, you got to remember those things, right? Stuart in the house, what's up? But yeah, there's all kinds of ways to do this. And some of them are really trick and some of them don't have to be. There are a lot of people that go, oh, I don't want to do fuel injection, so they carburate an LS, and that's all fine too. Whatever you want to do, it just doesn't matter.
There are some problems with some of the cars with the body modules that if you don't use the body module, certain things won't work. So you have to be able to trick past all that stuff.
Right.
I mean, that's out of my wheelhouse, obviously, but
like even my 56 Chevy station wagon Rusty, has a LT1 in it, not a new LT1, an old LT1. And it ran on a factory ECU forever. And then I worked at Spectre Performance, and Scott Clark and a bunch of us developed a new ECU there, the EMS Pro, and it was a standalone, and we did that, and we ran Rusty on that standalone. But the car has a 4L60E in it, and we weren't building the ECU to be a trans-controlled, ECU, the first iteration. So all we did was leave the factory ECU in the car to run the transmission. All it needed was RPM signal and throttle position. And all we did was piggyback those into it. It thought it was still running the engine. As far as it was concerned, it was doing its job. It just wasn't connected to nothing but the trans. So it was like, hell yeah. So that thing drove perfect. Did not care. And like I said, it did that ECU that's this big, way more than an aftermarket trans control unit. Sure. 2 pounds, what do I care? It's a 56 Chevy station wagon. Like, it didn't matter, So there's a lot of ways to do it.
If you cared about weight, you would have taken that bumper guard off that thing a long time ago.
Yeah, exactly. Hold on, I gotta go let Otis in. So okay, so talk about what are your favorite oddball swaps then, Wickman?
You mean engine in manufacturer, or
either or, probably.
Geez. What's neat is seeing the Volkswagen air-cooled guys are doing. I don't know what the engine designation is. Richard know this. The Subaru flat fours into Volkswagen bugs, and also
I did that in a bus a long time ago.
Then also the 4 cylinders out of what is it?
I see a lot of the Honda motors going into them.
Like the Cavaliers and the Cobalts, using those 4 cylinders in Volkswagens as well. I don't know that engine.
Like in air-cooled Volkswagens, or
yes,
yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
those were an Ecotech motor.
Yeah, I see the Ecotech.
Yeah. They're putting the water-cooled motors in a lot of them nowadays.
Yeah. I do know that the Subarus, I'm sure you said that, were common in those because it's a flat 4, so it fits good,
Yeah.
That's
the big one.
One in a bus, but I use a Porsche 915 5-speed with it.
Oh yeah, the Porsche transaxle.
Just the only thing I hate about them is the exhaust note on those flat 4 Subarus. It just has that tone that I just find annoying.
I'm a Harley guy, so they sound good to me.
Yeah, because it's just 2 Harleys. I think it's hilarious though that Wickman lives in the land of Subarus and can't stand the sound of them, because every swinging dick in Colorado's got a goddamn Subaru.
There are 3 of them that all park together in the parking lot where I live, and it's just they fire up at 3 different times in the morning, and I'm just like,
whoop.
Guys. Yeah.
Jet Black is asking, when did the 4L60 give out in my 56 Chevy? Never had a problem with the 4L60 in it. It's still in it. It never had a problem. Sprayed it with nitrous, did a bunch of stuff. I mean, it never made any real power, but beat it like a rented mule. And
that's what I think. If you keep your horsepower range in the 450 range on an Gen 3, Gen 4, and run a 4L60, I don't see any issues you could have when you start adding turbos and all the crazy power adders and all that, and trying to put 600, 700, 800 horsepower down and grenade a 4L60 and then complain about it. I mean, that's kind of your own damn fault. So,
well, my 94 truck had one in it, and I towed all the time with it. Beat the dog snot out of that thing. 300,000 miles on it, and when I thought it had died at 200 and something, the radiator was plugged up. It wasn't in the trans.
Yeah.
So
that's
put
funny.
Another radiator in it, shifted great.
Yeah, like Jed just said there, it's like factory 350 horsepower. So it's like,
yeah. Here's the thing, people that are doing swaps, two things I always say, like when I'm doing a seminar for Holly or whatever on swaps and on like sniper installs and stuff, I always tell people there's a couple of things you got to keep in mind. Number one, the new transmissions, yes, they are better than the old transmissions. They are built to handle more power because the new cars have more power. But one of the big keys to that is torque management. And so if you have a brand new, Ford or Chevy or Dodge or whatever, whether it's a car or a truck, and you wood the thing, and you are wide open throttle up shifts, it is cutting timing and killing power on the shifts. Okay. It does that to save the transmission from itself, so that it's less wear and tear on the transmission. Now, if you get into making a ton of horsepower, and don't tweak on the torque management just right, then sometimes it can lead to slipping that can actually cause premature wear. But generically speaking, torque management is how you save the thing. Now, all of the aftermarket ECUs that I'm aware of allow you to use torque management on any of the ECUs that have transmission controls. So like my Holly Dominator or a Terminator X-Max, they allow you to do that. They allow you to kill timing and do all of those things in order to make the thing live on the shift. Now, there's two reasons why you would want to do that. In the first instance we're talking about, it's to save the thing from itself. But the number two reason is, and this is done in every one of the crazy high horsepower cars that you're used to seeing go down the racetrack, like any of the pro mod cars on the planet, any of the Street Outlaws guys, No Prep Kings, all of those things, any of the fast small tire cars, etc. They are all killing power with timing on the shift in order to soften the shift so it doesn't blow the tires off. And I mean, like big time power getting dropped for a nanosecond and then back in. So much so that in some cases it's hard to see where the 1-2 shift happens on the data log. So that's one reason that they live so long. And it's one of the keys to getting stuff down a questionable racetrack. So that's a weird instance where the factory thing they're doing to make things more durable is the same thing you're doing to go faster, and those don't always work that way normally,
Well, that's why I'm wondering, like the manufacturers going with 6, 8, 10-speed transmissions now. Is that just for prolong engine longevity, or is it to soften shifts, or is it a mileage thing, or
mileage and emissions thing mostly?
The easiest way to save an automatic transmission from blowing up, right?
Put a manual in it?
Yep.
Put a stick in it. Notice, presented by American Powertrain. Right? Your source for 5 and 6 speed swap kits, and even overdrive automatics if you really want one.
I purposely bought a standard steering column for my OBS just in case I decide to go down that route. Swap.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, why not? The 10-speed the 10-speed transmissions that are all the rage right now, and I don't know, some people out there may not know this. The 10-speed that's in a Ford and the 10-speed that's in a new Chevrolet are the exact same transmission. I mean, when I say the exact same, I mean they're only the bell housing is different. General Motors and Chevrolet joined together on the investment to create that transmission. Now, with that said, the transmission control module and the programming within it are different for each one. Chevrolet has done a great job on it, and Ford sucks a dick.
I'm kind of wondering, did that come about where both manufacturers got together, like over a liquid lunch, and said, "Hey, pitch an idea, saying, hey, we can both save money if we use the same transmission in these vehicles, if we like join forces," kind of thing, or?
Yeah,
I'm sure there was a lot of that went on, but more than likely it was just to save money, and all that stuff probably came around the 2015-16 when they were working on them.
Yeah. They the
but it's just like that. The Allison was in a lot of the different trucks too. So.
Oh yeah, absolutely. The logic behind the 10-speed, like I said, is it to a lot of people it's the same reason you would run a CVT, which is a constant velocity transmission. But where you're keeping the RPM always in the good range. And if you have 10 speeds, then it's easier to do that, right? But I'm trying to pull this up.
The biggest mistake a lot of people make with automatics, though, is they put a whole bunch of horsepower, you put a big converter in them, and everything that goes along with that, they don't increase the cooling capability.
Right. Well, and the the thing with a 10-speed is obviously you're in each gear less time and you're staying within the power band. That's key. That's key not only wide open, but obviously when you're cruising, because it means that the engine isn't dropping in RPM to where it's inefficient, right? Or climbing into an RPM where it's not efficient, right? So if it had to go to, let's say, 4,000 RPM in second gear before it shifted into third, now it may only go to 3,000 RPM to shift to third, and then it goes to 2,800 and shifts to fourth, which would have been what third was before. You see what I mean? So yeah, there's a lot of different stuff. Like the gear ratios on the 10-speed, first gear is 470. The reason that late model cars all have really low first gears is to get them out of the hole cleanly, again, for emissions.
And tell people what they have for a final gear ratio in the rear end, though.
Oh yeah, I mean usually they're like 320 gear or something.
The Mopars, the independent, I believe, like the Hellcat is like a 220 or 228.
Oh really?
Wow. So that's how they're able to do these high-speed chases across Arkansas and shit like that.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. It's this thing. What I'm looking at here says that the 10-speed. Let's see. So let's look what this is. Camaro 10-speed rear gear.
What are ratios 1 to 10?
I'll tell you in just a second. 2017 and later Camaro models with the 10-speed have a rear gear of 277.
Damn.
You are right. So, a ZL1 has 285. Yeah, so here's the gear ratios. This is what's interesting on the 10-speed. 470 first, 299 second. Keep in mind, like a Turbo 400 is 248 first. Third gear is 215. Fourth gear is 180. Fifth gear is 152. Keep in mind that in a Turbo 400, 248 is first, 148 is second, third is 1-to-1. So this is 152 in fifth, 128 in sixth, 1-to-1 in seventh, 0.85 in eighth, 0.69 in ninth, and 0.64 in 10th. But here's one thing that is annoying, like, and it's background noise that you're hearing in Crosby's shop or Wickman's, one or the other. So one of the things that you are that you get, nope, it must be Wickman, because you muted and it didn't do anything.
It might be the TV in the other room.
Oh, there you go. It's fine. So anyway, here's the one problem though with the 10-speed stuff. Actually, any late model. So now you get all these guys who are wanting to do an LS swap, and then they are like, oh, I want to go on a drag and drive or power tour. And they're like, oh man, I think I need to change my rear end gears. I don't know what to do. I mean, I have 373s. I'm going to need to put gears in it, or this thing's going down the highway at like $3,000. Shut your pie hole, you idiot. Sell the car, take up golfing. I hate you. I hate you. I hate you. I hate you. I'm telling you this right now. That is stupid. Okay. I mean, I have a car that has never had a gear higher, and I don't mean numerically, I mean higher ratio than a 456 in the back of it on a 28-inch tall tire with a glide, and drive it all over the place. Okay. We did Rocky Mountain Race Week in it with the 456s and a 700 R4, so it had 0.75 overdrive, right? So what is that? So 0.75 times 4.56 makes it a 342 ring and pinion. Okay, I mean the equivalent of a 342 with a 1-to-1. Dude, like, that thing cruises 75 or 80 miles an hour all day long and doesn't care. That was a traditional small block with a hydraulic.
What about
like
32, 3,300?
No, I think it was even lower than that. Let me do the math. Let me do the calculator. Let's do the calculator. Gear ratio RPM calculator. The good old Spicer transmission ratio RPM calculator. So, ring and pinion, 4.56, tire height 28, transmission gear ratio 0.75. Let's see.
Wickman, is there some alien aircraft on your roof, or what the hell?
That's what everybody's talking about. It's coming from Wickman.
It's the TV in the other room.
How can that be a TV? It sounds like a constant drone.
It might, or could be the fan on the laptop.
Okay, sorry. 73 miles an hour is $3,000 according to that with a lockup converter. 73 miles an hour. So here's the thing.
Bad.
If you have but guys are like worried about not having an overdrive and using a 28-inch tall tire and going down the road. So 70 is 3,100 RPM. Okay,
I was close.
That's with a 373 and 1-to-1. I mean, that's not a big deal. Who cares? Mm-hmm. My Camaro used to, like with 513s in it on the street, it would go, well, we'll do the math here. So 513, 28-inch tall tire.
How fast was it spinning? All of it.
4,000 RPM to go 65, right? I mean, and that was with a solid flat tappet camshaft. So I normally was going about 3750 and going 60 mile an hour. So yeah, it's fine. Doesn't care. You know how I know it doesn't care? Because you could buy a 1-ton dually, okay, with 456 gears in it, okay, and it had a 29-inch tall tire from the factory, okay, and you could get that dually with 456s and 1-to-1, and you'd pull a trailer at 75 miles an hour, which was $4,000.
No, the dually you're talking about, 30.5-inch tall tire.
Okay, 30.5. Let's go with that. So 4,000 was 80 miles an hour. So 3,500 was 69 miles an hour. Keep in mind also, ladies and gentlemen, those of you that don't remember this, when the square body trucks came out, the speed limits were faster. Then they went down to 55.
Yeah.
And now they're up again. But they were like 65, 70 mile an hour everywhere back then. And so to do the speed limit, you were 3,500 RPM in your brand new Chevy pickup. Like General Motors wasn't worried about it. And that was with the big block usually.
Yep.
Don't matter. Don't matter.
My 91 Julie that I towed, or 48-foot trailer with, had a turbo 400 and a 456 steer. And we drove that thing all over the place.
Richard Harris, it was a good comparison. You misunderstood. On a ProMad or a small tire or big tire car, they are not killing power to save the trans. You are correct. They are killing power to not blow the tire off on the 1-2 shift and to shock the tire. That is what I said. So I know. I've owned them and tuned them. I'm well aware. So yeah. But no, they're not doing it to save the trans. Chevrolet is doing it to save the trans. So is Ford and all them. The race car guys are doing it to make it stay hooked up and going down the racetrack.
It's like slipping a clutch in a fueler or alcohol car.
Yep, same thing. 100%.
That is purely torque management to not put thousands of horsepower to the ground directly.
Well, yeah, because when you shift a turbo 400, the tire speed. One of two things has to happen on the shift. You either have to accelerate the tire and all of the drivetrain attached to it by the 22 to 26% instantly, or you have to drop the engine RPM that amount instantly, both of which are hard on things at big power. So if you can do something to keep both of them happy, then that's how you do it.
Mm-hmm. But
I appreciate the comment, Richard, because making sure I'm never afraid for you to double check us and tell us we're wrong.
Oh, because we're wrong a lot.
Oh, yeah. This time we're not, but lots of times. Absolutely.
Let's get back to the stuff. We've gone off on a completely different tangent.
I know. That's
typical. So that's unlike any other time?
Yeah.
Well, pretty much.
So for
unlike
me,
Wickman sitting there with obviously a hairdryer blowing on his nutsack.
Right.
Pop, I'm sorry. That's
what if I mute you, then it's quiet. It's fine.
Yeah.
So here's my deal with,
and we make more sense
swap.
That way.
Here's my thing with engine swaps. I like any of them. I don't care really. I mean, there's only a couple things that bother me as a diehard Chevrolet guy. The guy that put a big block Ford in a 69 Camaro and ran it at Hot August Nights for years, like that bothered me because I was young and I'm a Chevrolet guy and I own a 69 Camaro and it just feels horrible to me to do that to one. But you know what? It doesn't ruin it. If I wanted to buy that car from that guy, I could have the Ford motor out of it in an hour and put a big block Chevrolet in it. It'd be fine, right?
Well, how do you feel about Finnegan's 55 then?
Oh, I think it's great with the Hemi in it. I mean, that fits with being a gasser, but it wouldn't matter. Whatever it was, again, it doesn't ruin anything. It's just there. I mean, you sent pictures, right, of the, some of the swap vehicles that we were talking about. And so here, I'll put these up on screen so we can use them as the example. So, these are a couple of the cars that Crosby is or has been working on. This is a little Falcon Ranchero with an LS in it. And the reason to use one is they make great power for reasonable money and they fit in everything because they are basically a 2-foot square, which so is a traditional small block Chevrolet and a small block Ford. But, it's more expensive to build a small block Ford than it is to build an LS. And I know somebody's going to argue with me on that, but realistically, that's true.
I was going to say that Ranchero doesn't have the spring towers anymore.
No.
It does not. It wouldn't matter anyway. The port separation on LS is identical to a small block port.
Yeah. Okay.
Exactly.
And the width of the motor, the LS.
LS is the same as a 351. A 302 or a 389 is a tiny bit narrow, but negligible.
But they're longer because
they are longer,
timing cover.
Correct.
And I'm not a Ford guy, and I know that.
Yeah, exactly. But they're, what's this?
That's the Riviera.
Yeah. Oh, okay. This is the Riviera. Gotcha. Yeah, and that looks good. The Nailhead is a horrible engine, so I wouldn't want any part of it.
There you go with that Nailhead hate again.
Yep. A Nailhead's fine if all you do is paint it to look pretty and leave it alone. It's fine.
This is an early swap done by Rob McGregor in his.
Okay. This was his dad's car.
Yep.
Yes. Yeah, that's cool.
I mean, that's before all the shit was available, different manifolds and intake tubes and stuff. So he basically pulled a motor, threw it in there. That car ran great.
Yeah, and I mean that thing. What was it? A 54?
52 or 3.
Okay. Yeah. Just a nice cruiser hot rod.
Yep.
I mean, so
AC blows cold. Just
the guys that say, "Oh, that's wrong. It doesn't look right," or whatever. Well, if this thing had a traditional small block in it, that didn't come in one either. And if you put a traditional small block in it, if you just pulled one out of a truck or something and put it in here and didn't make it look pretty, then you wouldn't care about opening the hood and showing it off any more than this. The only reason you have a picture of it is because you took a picture of it. Yeah. But the reality is, this car was built to drive, so you don't care about the hood.
You don't know what's in that thing.
Correct, exactly. Nobody would have a clue.
And then
this is the 55 or 57 Chevy pickup, right?
Yeah, that's Josh's truck. And Holly makes this manifold. I was having such a problem with the intake tube. I'm like, I'm just going to put the other hat on it. And it worked out great.
Yes. If you're not familiar with this, this is an intake, a high ram or a mid ram.
It's a mid ram.
Yeah, and but the lid's the same for a high ram or any of them, and they have multiple options for lids, including this side one, and this one that's sideways was developed honestly for the 5-liter, for Mustangs, right? Fox body Mustang guys who the throttle body did go out the side on those anyway. And so
what the hell was that thing called? GT something or other.
The GT40 intake. Yeah.
Yeah, GT40.
Yep. So this is a great option though if you need the room or whatever, or if it's a boosted application and this helps you get, the tubing away from other stuff. It's pretty cool. And it's a cool conversation piece. They look nice.
Is that
scratch your head?
Is that a drive-by-wire or is that cable-driven?
Cable.
Okay.
You can do it either way, so it don't care.
Yeah, it doesn't care.
Okay.
And then the next picture.
This is a 1955 Chevrolet Nomad.
56 Nomad.
Oh, sorry, 56 Nomad. Yeah. And it has...
I wouldn't think you would know what that was, but...
I know, right? Since I have one. It has a Duramax in it. Crosby built this car, and it's got a Duramax and an Allison in it. And yes, it did require notching the firewall, and it required the tunnel to be made bigger, but it would have required that with virtually anything. To set it up the way it is.
If you look at it, it has a mechanical fan because it has the OE front drive on it, deleting the air pump, but it also has a factory radiator and intercooler on it.
Yeah.
So the whole width of that is radiator and intercooler.
Me and Crosby were standing looking at this thing, and he had the engine in it just to mock up, and we were standing there and we were measuring shit. And I said, dude, I'm not sure. We need to go measure the dually, because he had a Duramax dually sitting outside. I'm like, we need to go measure it because this is giant. And what if the dually stuff fit? And Crosby went out there and measured it. And I mean, we talked about it. It's like, if you can use a factory part so that if you ever had a problem, you don't have to order something custom.
The only thing on the intercooler, I had to reposition the inlet and outlet tube.
And you did that, the front tire. Right, because of the big giant front tires. But if you were in a pinch and had to get a factory one in there just to get down the road, it would work. Yeah, it would just hit at full lock. So, yeah, and again, mechanical fan, all that. This thing, like, looking at this car, you would have no idea that it had a Duramax in it, like going, down the road or idling through a parking lot. You're like, wait a second, that thing sounds like a hot rod in the back, like it's a V8, but it sounds a little weird. What's going on? It's cool. And it pulls the Airstream trailer.
Yep.
Well, I can just ask a good question.
What's that?
What's the most capable straight six to build for big power?
Okay, let me address this real quick, and then I'm going to let you guys. So I think it's funny that that Lycan is saying 2J is boring now. 2J guys think that everybody thinks 2Js are nothing and they're the greatest engine ever, and why doesn't anybody love 2Js? Meanwhile, everybody else is like, holy crap, there's a lot of 2Js out there. I think a 2J is a great engine, okay? Without question. I love them. They're a great engine. I think that the one that everybody refers to as the Ameribara, that, that Richard's done a bunch of stuff with, the Atlas or whatever it is, 6-cylinder, that's the one that, came in Colorados and stuff. Trailblazers. Those are great. What's really funny about those, like, that would be what I would choose if I was going to do one. They're tall and stuff, but they're still badass. There's like a million things that have been done to them before anybody knew anything had been done to them. Because Brian Lump, or Brian Self, sorry, people call him Lump. He did all kinds of cylinder head work and stuff on them as soon as they came out, and put them in Econo dragsters and other competition eliminator drag racing applications, like literally for years and years and years and years and years and years and years before anybody said anything about them, with turbos and all kinds of stuff. Those things make insane power, and inline sixes are super smooth and easy on parts. So inline sixes are cool if you have the room to fit one. They're very cool. I like them for sure.
The one that always kind of intrigued me, that I just always thought looked cool, was the Pontiac overhead cam motor.
Ooh, yeah. We have a friend who has one of those in a 69 Firebird with a turbo and fuel injection.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think there's just something neat about them.
Of course, Randall just likes oddball stuff, so.
Well, I am oddball, so.
I was speaking with a individual today. He has done a lot with the Ford 300s. He had one in his truck, his F-150, hurt the engine in his wagon, took the engine out, added his turbo to it, went out on drag week, ran 1090s with it, and drove it home, pulled the engine out of the wagon, and stuck it back in his truck.
Wait, say that again?
Keith Lopez?
Yeah.
With his the truck Buford that he calls.
Oh, yeah, gotcha. Yep.
He hurt the engine in his wagon and took the engine out of his truck, stuck it in the wagon, went out on drag week, ran 1090s with it, then went home and basically pulled the engine back out and stuck it in the truck. We were talking today about it, and he has since pulled the engine out of the truck, sold that engine to someone that is a drag weaker and has it in a 59 ranch wagon or something like that. And there's the Firebird.
Yeah.
And he's done a different kind of a swap into the Ford truck now.
Do you notice the intake manifold on this bad boy there? That says Maserati on it? No, it doesn't. It says Marshall, but it looks like Maserati, doesn't it?
It looks like Maserati.
I know. I love it. It made me think of that every time. Yeah, this is in a 69 Firebird that Randall put together years and years and years ago, and he's added more and more stuff to it. But it's not a pretty, setup. It's very utilitarian. It's got tons of miles on it, and he has it's got tons of data, tons of cool stuff. It's got a home built ECU on it and all this stuff. It's a neat car for sure.
What's crazy about it is like he found that the little backstory on that car is he found it in Alabama, had a 400 small block in it, drove it home to Nevada, and literally like that week he got home, pulled the 400 out and sold it.
Yeah. Yep.
What transmission is in that? Is that a Lenco?
No, it's just one of the lightning rod shifters.
Oh.
Yeah. Just one of the lightning rod shifters. Where'd it go? I thought there was a better picture of the shifter, but I guess not. Yeah.
I see, because I see a pedal down there, so.
Yeah, it was a stick, but I think it's an automatic. Maybe not. I don't remember.
Yeah, I'm not sure what transmission he has going on in that. So.
Yeah, the first time I drove a Lenco car, I was like, "Oh, this thing's cool."
Oh yeah, it's the greatest thing ever.
Yeah, Joe Barry put his back in.
Yep. Oh yeah, the first time I drove a Lenco car, I was like, "This is it." There is as much fun as all the other things are. None of them are Lenco cool. None of them.
I forgot what event I met him at. I know it was at Baytown when the track was still open, but it was the guy that I think it was a national event where he was the guy that basically rebuilt Lencos at different events or supplied parts to racers. But he was based out of San Diego.
What is the other transmission that is also fun to drive with the clutch and funky aluminum case that our friend Chad may own one of?
Well, yeah, I own a turbo clutch, and there is also a clutch flight. So a clutch flight would be you put a bell housing, like a scatter shield with a clutch, in front of a torque flight, and that's what they put behind Hemis. And then there was a turbo clutch, which was a turbo 400, which with the bell housing cut off and a scatter shield and stuff, which I do own. That
and you can leave at any freaking RPM you want to leave at. Don't have to worry about slip in the converter or nothing.
Nope. Mine has a McLeod soft lock, like adjustable clutch. So the way that it was set up, you could leave it anything you wanted as long as it wasn't 4,600 RPM or above, because of the clutch, the way the clutch was.
Yeah.
At 4,600, it was swinging the weights and it was shoving your foot off the clutch pedal whether you want to do or not. But that's because it's a race clutch. That's a different thing.
Yeah, you feel like you're sitting in an alcohol car with your foot on the clutch when they're warming it up.
Yeah, exactly. And it's trying to shove your foot back.
Yeah, and for anybody that's ever done that, they know exactly what I'm talking about.
Oh, yeah. But at 4,400, it was like nothing. Yeah. But between 44 and 46, it starts pushing. At 45 is where, that was where it was set up to leave,
Yep.
And and you, for those that don't know, like we're sitting here talking about transmissions all a bunch, but so the you just shift the Turbo 400 then manually. I guess you could set up you wouldn't have to do a manual valve body. I guess
you don't
could,
have to do a manual.
Yeah, I guess you could leave it automatic. The only downside to them is it is nearly impossible to drive them in any throttle position and not chirp the tires on the shift, whether you lift off the throttle or not or any of that, because there's no cushion.
How is that a problem?
Well, it just only if you're around police officers. There's no cushion of the torque converter, so it is the firmest shifting transmission you've ever felt, and so you can upshift and downshift at any throttle position, and it just does it. And you only have to use the clutch on when you stop or when you start. So you pull up to a light, you have to push the clutch
or the other way around.
Right. Now, I suppose I never tried this. I guess you could push the clutch in when you shifted to like make it not bark the tires and then do that if you were in town. But why would you do that?
One I had, I just kind of pushed some pressure down on the clutch pedal just to give it a little bit of slip.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah. But it's a riot, and I can't wait to put it back in. I think it's going to go in my Camaro with a big block in front of it. That's my goal.
That would be cool.
It's great. But okay, but so we talked about 2Js and we talked about the Barras. What other 6-cylinders are cool?
The 300, in my opinion, the Ford.
Well, Chad, you being a Bonneville guy, a 300 GMC.
Yeah. Those things have gone like 300 miles an hour and stuff. So, I mean, here's the thing. An inline 6-cylinder, when people say like, oh, it runs like a sewing machine, because all of the pistons and rods are going up and down and they're not going away from each other, they're inherently smooth. And everything is they're going opposite each other. So there's just no vibration, or not very much vibration. And they're also really easy on the crankshaft because of that.
Which you would think the opposite because of the length of the crankshaft, but when you take the separation, it really doesn't make that much difference, I don't think, because I don't think it torsions that bad.
Well, and I know that like if you're making really big power with them, like some of the older 6-cylinders, only had like 3 mains, let's say, or 4 mains instead of having a bunch. But
Darren Davis ran that comp dragster and roadster for years with that 6-cylinder in it.
Oh yeah.
But also, think about if you basically take your 6-cylinder, cut off a couple cylinders, and have your inline 4, which came in every Japanese car and mini truck for a few decades.
I mean, those things, the same thing.
Those things are going hundreds of thousands of miles, and even the Iron Duke 2.5 in the early S10s. I mean, it's not uncommon to hear those S10s going 300,000, 400,000, 500,000 miles on them before finally giving up the ghost.
Yeah.
Because I know that the one of the S10s I had, when I got rid of it, it had 330,000 miles on it. And that was because the only reason I got rid of it was because every rubber bushing had dry rotted out of it.
Yeah. Well, all the roundy round midgets had Iron Duke. If they had a Chevy, if they had a Chevy motor in them, they were based on an Iron Duke motor.
Yeah, the early ones. Now it's mostly TRD. Who's the other one now?
Well, a lot of them are the Ecotechs and stuff like that.
Yeah, there's another one I can't think of.
Those are all sealed motors.
There was Mopar had a few good years in the midgets.
Yep.
man, what is the other? I can't think of, because of course the Chili Bowl was a few months ago. But
when you talk about 4 cylinders, the 2300 Pinto motor, Cortina motor, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, they went from like the those to the whatever they were running in the Focuses. They ran those for a while.
Yeah, but that was a specific class. That was what they called the Focus midgets.
Yeah,
they were specific to that motor. They didn't run against anybody else but Focuses.
Yeah, I was just watching a thing yesterday talking about Keith Coons and basically what his budget was for the Chili Bowl, and he was fielding 10 cars, I think, at the Chili Bowl. He was entered. I forgot how many classes, but yeah, he had 10 cars.
That's insane.
Yeah, but it was costing him $17,000 each car to run the Chili Bowl.
Wow,
sounds about right.
That's a lot of money.
What do you got on your mind there, Chad?
Each car was like $1,000 a night.
Wow. Oh, well, that's cheaper than I would have thought. $1,000 a night. Yeah. So, looking at the data on all of these 6 cylinders that we have mentioned. I didn't look at 2JZ main bearing number. So all of the well, wait. So all of the ones that we were talking about, all the 6-cylinder engines that we talked about from, Chevrolet and Ford and all of them have 7 main bearings in those 6 cylinders. And the 2JZ, though, it also does. It also does. I had one thing I thought said 5, but yeah, it has 7 as well. So all of the engines that we're talking about that are the ones that make big or have the potential to make big power are all have 7 mains, which means that there's a main bearing on each side of every connecting rod. I mean, that makes them insanely strong. And all the GMCs, and the Chevrolets, I don't know about the Fords or the 2J, I just don't remember on them. But the GMC had gear drive, camshaft and everything. And so they would last for
reverse rotation on the camshaft.
Yeah, and it would run forever. Like, that's why they did them that way. It was a helical gear, and they would just run forever.
The original Toyota 6 that came in the Land Cruisers was a knockoff of the GM motor, but it weighed like 1,000 pounds. I'm being sarcastic right now, but it was insanely heavy in comparison to a Chevy motor.
That was all in the Asian market FJ series Land Cruisers.
Yep.
Mostly all the ones you saw in the Middle East.
No, they came over here.
Oh yeah, all the FJs
in the
United States.
Was that after? That was what, the 50, 55 series and up, or did the 40 series?
I don't know.
FJ40s had those. Yeah, FJ40s
did have them here.
FJ62s. That's what. Yeah, here in the United States. Okay. That's why. That's why all the FJ40s had small blocks put in them.
Yeah.
Because you literally pulled the 6-cylinder and put the V8 in it. It bolted right up. Didn't need.
Me do it.
Yeah, it needed no parts for the swap except the V8. Everything bolted right up.
I used the clutch in one of them because it was still so good.
They had an SM465 in them, if I remember right. Yep. So yeah, yep, yeah. It was a.
They had 11 and a half or 12-inch clutch in them too. They were monsters.
Yeah, it was like a 250 cubic inch inline 6 is what they were. So yeah, yep. And
I don't know how it was they weighed so much, but they were insanely heavy.
Right.
I bent a cherry picker to prove it. Let's put it that way. That it lifted, I don't know how many small blocks and 6-cylinders over the years.
Right. Rebel driver Scott Liggett's bringing up, how about the Pontiac half a 389 or the International half of a 345, which I forgot about that. Yeah. The 389 4-cylinder, if you're not familiar, I'll look it up. So the Pontiac, that 4-cylinder, I can't remember what they called it. I'm looking it up right now. The Trophy 4.
Yeah.
So the Trophy 4 was
190. Tempest, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It was 194 cubic inches. What's funny about it is everybody thinks of the slant 6 Pontiac Mopar. Everybody refers to it as the Leaning Tower of Power. But
the same way.
The Trophy 4 was also that because I'll show you a picture of this thing here. It was literally half of the 389, so it was just the passenger side of the engine. And it looks hilarious, but like Richard did a bunch of tests with them and stuff,
but I think the only reason they did that was because they used the original side casting with the motor mount on it.
Probably, yeah. They were pure entertainment. Here's one from that I'll show you guys just so you can see. The Engine Labs guys had a story on it. Just so you can see what we're talking about. But these are hilarious because they were, half of a, see, there you go, half of a 389. What was interesting about them is that you can imagine that that these things probably shook and stuff. When they were running, they were okay. But what was funny is that when you shut one off, the engine literally shook like a dog. When you'd shut it off, it'd go like this. I mean, it was hilarious. It was on rubber mounts and it moved all over the place, and was really funny. I have a friend who had one, I mean, nothing wrong with them. They ran good and all those things, but they're weird.
Like the odd fire V6.
Yeah, but I had forgotten that International had one as well. I'll see if I can look that one up.
I'm sending you a photo of someone that took one of those Pontiac 4-cylinders and what he did with it. This is him and his dad are diehard Pontiac racers. They run stock, super stock, comp eliminator. They run at Bonneville. They've done land speed racing, a number of things. And this was basically a bunch of leftover Pontiac parts and what they did with it.
Let's see here. Yeah, the 345 is the half of 345 is a 152. It's the same thing. Oh, nice. So these guys put one with a turbo in a little T-bucket looking thing. Actually, not a T-bucket, just a Model T.
Yeah, from what I understand, it was basically a death trap.
That's awesome. I approve of that.
This was just quickly finding the photos. That's the photo I found the quickest. I mean, I have to go digging into his photos. I know there's better photos of it, but I just thought they took it to a national event with them when they were in Houston, and just kind of like cruising the pit sort of thing. And I guess everyone just lost their stuff over like, what engine is that? What is it?
Yeah.
One of the Subarus just came back. I'm listening to them out in the parking lot.
That's funny. Scott Liggett saying you could build a modern version of the 62 Olds Jetstar using a turbo on the aluminum 215.
Okay. Oh, yeah, that's right. I forgot all about the
What up, Mike Cotton?
What's up, Mike?
Cotton in the house.
Mr. Mike getting ready for Power Tour and their top secret project that they're him and Newburn are taking.
I can't, dude. Congratulations to Newburn, by the way, who went 211 in the
Trans
Am.
That was awesome.
Doing at the in Arkansas at the Arkansas Mile, which was cool. Did a couple of changes to that thing to add some power. I think they went Cotton. What do you go? Didn't you guys go like 197 or 198 or something like that?
They went like before 199.8, I think is.
Okay, gotcha.
They were able to. They were like right there.
Yeah, Cotton's Power Tour ride is not so top secret. It's the van, but as far as I know,
I sent you a picture of Darren's dragster back in the day.
But here's my thing on the Darren Davis is the Econo dragster. Yep. Here's my thing with the swap stuff. Yeah. 199.8.
Yeah, that's like right there. It's like you just needed that.
Couldn't do 200?
Yeah. Sorry, Cotton. I forgot. He's not taking the van. He's bringing the Murata. That's right.
Oh.
Yeah.
Needed that extra 2 mile per hour tailwind to push it.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
I was at Pomona one time with Darren, and he launched one cylinder in the car, and we literally cut the rod in half as close to the crank as we could, and took a 2x4 and jammed the piston up, put the pan back on it, and he ran 0.2 slower with one cylinder going.
That's awesome. I like that.
I love that.
Okay, so one of the Mike is sending me messages asking how about a big block in a wagon, in a Ford wagon? But it could have had a big block in it, so that doesn't count. Or maybe it wasn't offered in that year, but you know what I mean. It doesn't make it less cool, but Lycan is saying any budget-friendly ways to get a flat plane crank. I'm in love with that sound. I don't know. I'd have to do some research, Lycan.
Yeah.
Honestly. I'm honestly not a huge fan of the sound. But I understand.
Tell you what, though,
a lot of people are.
Brett's Z06 has got a sound to it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that thing's fast.
Mm-hmm.
Haven't heard that one yet, so.
All of the oh yeah. No, I like Lycan saying I'm just throwing it out there because I like variety. I'm with you, dude. No. See, that's the big thing to me is there's two reasons to swap, I guess, to me. So the first reason is my junk is blown up and I need a new engine. So I'm looking at what the options are and I want to do something different is reason number one. And number two is, I'm trying to get the most, bang for the buck, whether that's mileage or dependability or horsepower or whatever. And so if your car doesn't have an engine that makes that easy to do, to make that power, to get that mileage or whatever it is that your goal is, then engine swap is the right way to go. And I don't, for me, I'm a diehard Chevrolet guy, so I'm not, probably going to put I'm not going to put a Ford motor in my Chevrolet.
Okay, what would be
start with a 2J? So,
top 10 reasons for doing a motor swap.
Top 10 reasons. Okay, let's do it.
Availability is what you have. If you're,
I'm gonna make a list. So number one, we're saying, and these are in no particular order. We just ran with them. So availability, we're gonna say, is that what we're saying is one of them?
I would say dependability and fuel mileage, and then cost would be not necessarily in that order.
Cost is the big one.
1, 2, 3.
Okay, so dependability, cost, availability. What'd you say?
Reliability.
Reliability, dependability, same thing. Yep.
Number 4 would be ability to work on said vehicle on the road.
Yeah.
Now, and that's a funny one, but that's true. That's a good point, actually, Crosby. So let's say repairability for that. I mean, that's so a small
it's
block
like a
Chevrolet,
small block Chevy. You can go to any parts store, and how many times you ever told them exactly what that motor's in?
Never.
It's
but now it's getting harder to find traditional small block parts in stock, but it's not hard to find LS parts in stock. See, that is exactly right. If you're on a road trip and you need a part, it is certainly easier to be able to say, I need intake gaskets for a 2003 Silverado with a 5.3 in it, than it is, bad example, but intake gaskets for a small block in a 69 Camaro.
Right. Gasket.
Well, like this past week on Puddin's video that he did with the big block in the C10, all the freeze plugs were junk in it. They figured, oh my God, just go down to O'Reilly's, get freeze plugs. Nope. And it's like, did you think there's something that they would have? But yeah, 10 years ago they would have had it.
Yeah.
But ironically, that's not. You may have that problem there. Here in California, which is the real ironic part, I don't have that problem.
No.
Well, that's the thing too.
I think they don't have it on the 100%. Shelf. Within an hour, I have the parts.
Right. And you're right, though. That's a very, that is not the case here in Dallas. It is much harder.
Right. That California is so screwed up on so many things, which it is, when it comes to stuff like that. I mean, I can drive up and down the street and find most everything I need.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you figure it's just where those vehicles are more common. So yeah, California, Arizona, Texas, you'll find that kind of stuff. But yeah, try to find some of those parts in, say, Chicago or Bisbee, North Dakota, or someplace like that, that's like in the Rust Belt. You're not going to find that stuff because all those vehicles are gone.
Right.
Yeah, but now, you go to Jasper, Indiana, and you'll find them.
Right.
Oh my God.
So let's go with then number 5 here. I'm putting budget. So let me be clear. Doing an LS swap is not cheap. It's not.
No.
There are ways, there are exceptions, but the average guy is not going to do an LS swap for cheap. If you have a 73 square body and you need to do an LS swap on it, you are going to have to spend some money on some things, right? Those things are going to be minor because it's a pickup truck. But if you have a 69 Camaro, then it's going to be a little more expensive because there are things that won't fit, that would fit the truck from a truck, but won't fit other ones.
Number one thing you're going to change is a pan on any of these swaps that we're talking about.
Yeah, and it's expensive, but keep this in mind. When you think about the budget, it's not just about the dollar of, this engine A versus engine B. If you look at it horsepower per dollar, okay, it is going to cost you more to build a 400 horsepower traditional small block than or probably the same money to build that and put it in your Camaro as it would to just get a LS and put a cam in it and put it in your Camaro.
Right.
But if you were buying just a bare block and buying that from the junkyard, a good bare block, small block LS, side by side from the junkyard, you have to buy everything else that goes on them. You're going to spend more on the LS because of all the sensors and everything else that goes on it.
That is true.
But I know, like, you can go on Rock Auto.
Did it right when he bought that complete car.
Oh, yes.
Because he got all of that stuff. And if you have to buy all them sensors,
if you're going to do an LS swap or a Gen 3 Hemi swap or any engine swap, late model engine swap, you want to get that engine as complete as possible. Even if you are going to use an aftermarket ECU and harness, I would still recommend that you get it with a harness and an ECU if the cost isn't prohibitive. If it's going to cost an extra $1,000, don't. But if you can get an engine that has all of it, then get it, because you can always sell that stuff. And that
because
way,
more than likely, if you're buying a motor or a car that has 200,000+ miles on it, all those sensors have less than like 40,000 miles on them. Guaranteed.
Right.
Because they've all been replaced.
Yes, right. Gotcha. Yep, that's true.
And that's another thing too, is like on Facebook pages that I follow are demolition derby guys, circle track guys that are using those LS engines because they've got it all figured out how to do it as cheaply as possible to get that stuff going around the track or down the track.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Well, and as Cotton says, it's easy power. That's whether it's a Gen 3 Hemi or an LS or a 2J or any of those. Even a 2J is old now, but still, you have to remember that, a 5.7 Hemi, Gen 3 Hemi is a 350 cubic inch engine, right? So no 350 from Chevrolet made the power that any 5.7 Gen 3 Hemi makes. Like, they just didn't. I mean, maybe there's a couple of them that overlap, but that's just not the reality, right? So the thing is, and a 5.3 LS, like, it makes as much or more power in stock trim than 99.9% of the small block Chevrolets that ever came out of the factory. Probably 99.95%, right? Well, so, they make 325 horsepower on the dyno from stock, like 100% stock with a set of headers on. It's just not a big deal,
Josh's truck with the 5.3 in it, bone stock. The only thing that's changed on that thing, pan, headers, manifold. That's
right.
It. Nothing else has changed. So it's a 5.3, 327, whatever you want to call it.
Right.
That thing got 23.5 miles a gallon on the power to it.
Yeah.
With the AC on.
Yeah. In a 57 Chevy pickup.
Yeah. And pulls like nobody's business.
Yeah. Because remember too, okay, let's say like using truck to truck. So let's say a 2005 Silverado standard cab short bed curb weight, okay, is 4,360 pounds. So a 1975 Silverado standard cab short bed curb weight. Oh, the AI doesn't know what to do with itself.
36, 37.
Yes. 3,550 pounds. Yep. So that is a huge weight difference. Okay. I mean, you're talking about almost 1,000 pounds. Call it, even if you said 750 pounds. 750 pounds means that when you take the stock engine out of the Silverado and you put it in an old truck, then it's going to be faster than it ever was in the new thing.
Yep.
Let alone if you put a tune-up in it, which will make it even better.
So let's add one more thing to the list then.
Yeah.
What's coming out of the tailpipe?
Oh yeah, it is cleaner, and before anybody bitches about that and goes, oh, I don't care about the emissions, go screw yourself. Here's the thing.
Why shouldn't we care about it? Because it's one of the biggest things on the list of everybody that complains about old cars is they're dirty. They're dirty. They're throwing all this shit out there. We're making cars that get the emission level are a third of what they put out. Even hot rodded, they're a third.
And Crosby, has lived in Southern California his whole life. I have traveled to Southern California my whole life and then lived there as well.
I remember the stage 5 freaking smog alerts and shit like that.
And it wasn't 50 years ago and 75 years ago that this was a problem. I mean, I've told this story before, but in 2001, I came to LA for a business trip and was on Wilshire Boulevard to go by the Peterson hot rod offices, just to see them. And it was
descend into the smoke.
Yes. And I mean, literally, and I mean, keep in mind too, at that point, you're what, like 3 miles from the beach, maybe 5 miles from, I mean, you're a couple of miles from the ocean, right? Yep. Like should be the place that's clean because the wind coming in off the beach. But I could not see the signal light that was 3 signal lights ahead. Could not see it because of the smog. And this is like at 5 o'clock when the sun's going down and it's all orange sky and all that. Could not see 3 lights ahead.
That's what makes the sunset so pretty.
Right. Yeah. Hey, remember my saying was always never trust air you can't see.
Well, that was the thing too. It's like when I was in the Navy in San Diego in the late 80s, early 90s, the way the coast curves, you could look up towards LA and just see this haze, just like like holy crap.
I know. And look, that is reality. You can say whatever you want, and nobody in their right mind is going to argue that the number of car enthusiasts is a tiny fraction of the number of cars on the planet, and they are not ruining the world. We all know that.
But still, I guess my original argument there was that if we have the ability to reduce that and take that argument off the plate.
Correct.
I think
why not? Perfect. Yes. Agreed.
But that still leaves the door open for all our friends and everything out there that, I mean, they're running the fuel cars or running a Pro Mod or whatever.
Right.
That does absolutely nothing in the grand scheme of things when a fire in just north of me puts more CO2 into the air than we will ever do in our lifetime.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But you try to explain it to some of these people, and it's just like they don't want to hear an explanation. They just like automatically, I'm right, your car's garbage, go bury it, kind of thing.
Right. Well, and on the other side of that, though, Wickman, you also get the guys that are like the hot rodders that are like, screw them, my shit's not ruining the world, I don't care. Well, dude, okay, both of those are wrong. Both of those are the same level of wrong, right?
But if you take a 60-year-old car and you make it put out a third of the emissions that it made originally, and then you take a brand new car that puts out half of that emission, but how much emission did it take to put that new car together with all the plastics and everything involved?
All those things are valid. Absolutely.
But you have to put all of this stuff into perspective.
Correct. Because perception is reality, and whether it's right or wrong, you got to play the game. And if we play the game and we are the responsible people, then that's good for all of us.
But you're taking a 60-year-old. Hold on a second, Wiggum. You're taking a 60-year-old car, you're putting it back on the road, and you're taking a brand new car. The emissions to put that car onto the road is who knows how many times more.
Oh,
but it's only good for 10 years. And
that's what sucks. Like in the where I'm at is like everything, majority of the cars you see on the road are electric, and like I've been pressed a couple of times when I was driving the Volvo. It was like, why are you driving that old thing? That was like blah blah blah. And it's like, let me break it down for you real quick if you got 30 seconds to spare.
Yeah.
And you're just kind of like, again, it's like, I don't want to hear it. And it's like,
you know what I tell people that say that? I go, if somebody in a Tesla came and said that to me, I'd go, the reason I drive it is because you drive a Tesla. Thank you. You drive a Tesla, which is saving the world, so I don't have to. I can still drive my 1994 Honda Civic that, by the way, still passes a sniff test in California. I know, because it did. And it has 438,000 miles on it and is just now getting all the suspension replaced. Like, that car is the epitome of not polluting the world, right? I mean, like, come on.
What's funny is another person I follow on YouTube is Greg Biffle, and the retired NASCAR driver. And this guy,
I never heard of
automotive. He's like all over the spectrum with his cars. It's like he was taking his wife to Mother's Day brunch, and he pulls up like in this 1980 whatever school bus with a small block.
Yeah,
and it's like he's like it's just kind of like speechless. Like, so he's got this big old school bus that's like the emissions on it is like who knows what. But then the next scene, he's in his Tesla driving around town. I was like, kind of like, hey, what are you?
Well, but that's good. Great.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I don't understand why people think you have to be one or the other. Like, just be whatever it is you want to be. And, you know, we've had this conversation and I've said this numerous times, and people, you know, this separates the men from the boys. There are a lot of people that claim to be dedicated to this hobby and to the sport. And most of them are full of shit, and are nowhere near as dedicated as I am and as a lot of other people are. And the reason I say that is I am not the guy that's buying an electric car. That's not because I don't think that they're perfectly fine vehicles. It has nothing to do with the politics. It has nothing to do with any of that. I'm just not a new car guy typically, right? Doesn't mean I wouldn't buy a new car, but I can't afford them and I don't have them. So I'm not the guy they're selling to. I would put my mother in an electric car tomorrow if I could afford to do it, right? Like, no doubt, okay? But here's the thing. If the U.S. government said, you know what? We've got a deal for all of you hot rodders and racers out there. You can own as many hot rods and race cars as you want and do anything you want as long as you own an electric vehicle. I will sell my right leg to go buy an electric vehicle and park it in my driveway and have it if that's what it took in order to keep running my hot rod. And anybody that says they wouldn't do that is seriously not dedicated enough. But I've also said, like, if I had to lose an appendage to keep driving cars, then I would lose an appendage. Like, now, let's go. What are we doing? Like, do I get to pick which one, or are you picking it? Like, I don't care.
Yep.
The wife and me have talked about getting electric vehicles, and like Nissan has that Nissan Leaf that they cannot sell. Yeah. There's a few dealerships out there around the country that you do whatever down payment it is, and you can get a Nissan Leaf for $19 a month.
Yeah.
No BS. I've seen the ads, I've looked at the fine print and all that. And the wife and me talked about it, and I said, if we were in a place where we could have that car on a charge in the evenings, on a charger, then we would do it.
Absolutely.
Just to have something to go down to the.
I would like to do an EV swap. Honestly, I have two cars that I would love to EV swap, one or the other of.
I've thought about it.
Yeah, I've talked to EV companies about it. It may happen at some point, but you know, my mom's the perfect example. If she I've said this a billion times. If she goes out or is going out with her friend Kelly or my Aunt Carolyn for lunch on a Saturday, she asks my dad and I on Friday, is there gas in my car? And if it's got less than a half a tank, then she's expecting one of us to drive it the 6 miles to the gas station and put fuel in it and bring it back so it's full of gas. She's 74 years old. She ain't going to put gas in her own car. She could, but she don't want to. She wants to go drive it and come home. If she had an electric car, and by the way, she's not driving 25 miles, right, each way. If she had an electric car, she would walk out in the driveway and unplug it and drive its little Jetson ass wherever the hell she needed to go and come back, and it would be perfectly fine. And so would an electric car for literally 99.99% of the population. Those of you that go, no, I got to drive a dually and this and that, you do understand you're this tiny percentage, right? Like, you understand that like a fraction of the population uses a truck for anything truck related, like never put them in 4-wheel drive, never even puts groceries in the bed of them. Right. None of that stuff. Like, it's just, the reality is not what a lot of enthusiasts and people think because they make it be politics. Randy Johnston just put a comment, hydrogen is the future fuel for our internal combustion engines. Yes and no, Randy. I've been very involved in Mike Copeland's, all of his, hydrogen fuel program that's going on at Arrington and all of that, like very involved, intimately familiar, and it's great. It works really good. But yeah, the big thing is getting people to adopt it, right? There are some challenges. They're minor. It makes a zero emissions. It's just water vapor. You can literally breathe the exhaust. It's totally fine. If you breathed it for too long, you probably get pneumonia, but otherwise it's totally fine. It works great. It doesn't have nearly the power potential. It's not nearly as energy dense as gasoline is. So you have to do some other things to make the horsepower. But again, 99.9% of people don't need the horsepower. So it's a great alternative. And once there's an infrastructure to fill cars, you are absolutely right. It is a great way to go.
That's the biggest thing right there is the infrastructure to fill them.
Hold on. There is one bigger thing of the actual manufacture of the said hydrogen. It does
Say that
not
again?
Just the manufacture of it. It comes from the production of electricity.
Right.
So
it can, yes,
and
exactly.
Does that, what comes out of the tailpipe, offset what it takes to produce it? I mean, if you're, same with the Tesla, if you got a coal-fired power plant running it, you didn't do anything.
Right.
And same thing with making hydrogen. If you're making hydrogen off electricity, and it takes a lot of it to do it,
right?
Does it really offset?
Yes, and
which is cleaner.
Yeah, and there are a couple of different kinds of hydrogen. Okay,
right.
There's gray, blue, and green, as generically,
but the production of it is still relatively the same.
Yeah, and they're each made differently, but yes, there is they are made with different processes, and so some of them are dirtier than others. Green hydrogen is the most energy neutral because it's made from electrolysis, and that is made through renewable energy.
The other fly on the wall is natural gas.
Right. Oh yeah.
Because the production of it is also, well, unless you're talking about fracking and everything else and getting into that whole can of worms.
Oh yeah.
But what comes out of the pipe in that is considerably less than normal gasoline.
Yeah. I think that's the thing too. Is like I hear so much more about it here, being where I'm at in Colorado, versus where when I live.
But they think electricity comes out of a fucking wall socket.
That's true.
There is a lot of whereas like living in Texas, where you're surrounded by oil refineries, I mean, you don't hear about all the other resources.
I don't know. You've been in Austin lately?
Well, yeah.
Austin is like the little brother that always got picked on, and all the other cities in Texas like stick up for their little brother, but it's like they won't admit it.
Yeah, I was gonna say nobody recognizes Austin outside of Austin, unless somebody's picking on Austin, and then it's like Texas for everybody. But otherwise, everybody in Texas is like, don't. We don't associate with Austin. In fact,
that's the Denver of Texas right there.
It makes people mad that the best barbecue in Texas is all in that area. Really chaps some people's asses, let me tell you.
There's some good places outside Austin.
So. I know, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So but we're talking about all these different swaps, and we touched on this. And as Malpass, brought up the Slate pickup, which I'm actually going to write a little story on BangShift. But if you have not seen this thing, it is a made in the USA electric vehicle, and they're calling it the Slate because it's a blank slate. And it is it's this little unibody pickup that looks sort of like a Ford Bronco, if you will. And you can add a shell to it and make it into an SUV or do whatever. And they're cheap. Like the base model they're aiming for under 20 grand.
Right.
And for $50, you can put a deposit on one because it's a brand new company. So you can put a deposit on one for $50. And then if you decide you're not going to buy one, they'll give you your $50 back because obviously they're going to make a bunch of money on the interest from your $50 and all the other people's $50. But they're supposed to be a cool little truck, and I think they're interesting. So, I think those are great. There's also a bunch of new e-axles that are getting made. Obviously, Tremec has they have their e-power unit that's it looks like a transmission because Tremec, transmission company, but it's got an electric motor in it, and you put it in place of the transmission with no engine. So you put it in the trans tunnel in a vehicle, and then you put batteries under the hood where the engine would have went, and it's like 250 or 280 horsepower or something like that. I drove a Mustang. They had like an SN9. I don't know if it was an SN94 or an S197 Mustang, but anyway, later model, not late model, but later model Mustang with a cage in it and all this. That was a test bed, road race car they had, and they put it in it, and I drove it around Southern California, and it was a riot. The thing is like, it had a couple of different modes, and you could drive it in regular mode, or you could drive it in sport, or you could drive it in, oh, hell yeah, we hate tires mode. And it was a riot because it just got a light switch. It has, all the power instantly. It just destroys tires, and it only makes 280 horsepower, but like 500 and something foot-pounds of torque or whatever. So I mean, it was cool.
Well, take that motor and put a gear bender behind it.
Right. Oh yeah, there's all kinds of different stuff to be able to do. I personally, like, I've had extensive conversations with Holly and AEM about new products that I think they should make. And honestly, I wish that I had the budget to be able to manufacture some of these things. I think that there are a lot of hot rod companies that are missing the boat on some cool opportunities with regards to electric powered stuff. And I think that, we could be doing a lot more, and it'd be fun. And I think it would also help to bridge the divide on electric versus not electric, and make people appreciate it a little more. But anybody that's driven, like, I hate Elon Musk, that guy's a douchebag, but the Teslas, well, the older ones were good cars, the new ones have quality issues, but a Plaid, dude, if you haven't been in a Plaid, like, you don't understand. Like, if you've not been in a Plaid, you do not understand. Like, this thing is like a turbo car. I mean, they run 920s from the factory with my fat ass.
Look like Dan Aykroyd and Chevy Chase and Spies Like Us.
Yes, exactly. It's, yeah, I mean, and it pulls all the way down the racetrack. They don't stop great, but they accelerate like a
motor. That one guy that he had one of the first Plaids, and he was out at the VW Proving Grounds out in Maricopa, and did like 2 or 3 laps in a Plaid, and then all of a sudden experienced brake fade, went off the track, and like went through the gravel and into a barrier wall. And he was wearing like shorts, flip flops, and a t-shirt. No like safety gear, no helmet, no nothing. And luckily to be alive. I mean, that's what it came down to.
Well, it's like Brett's CTSV. That thing was good for about 4 laps, and then the brakes were junk.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Hey, remember I drove Amir Rosenbaum's Ferrari Testarossa on the big track at Willow, and he was like, you got like maybe 2 hot laps in this thing, depending on how fast you're going, and the brakes are going to go away. And I was like, okay. And I had never driven on a road course anything that was mid-engine or any of that before. And it bit me, and I spun it out. I didn't hurt anything, but I spun it out going on the left-hander up into the Omega, Big Willow. But I can tell you that after that, when I was making fast laps, yeah, I mean, dude, 2 laps and the brakes were jump. Like, you were just like, hey, we're going to cruise on in and let this thing sit for a while now. But
to touch on the slate real quick, did you see the video Motor Trend put out on it?
I did not.
Okay. But yeah, they it's pretty interesting. I mean, they do a pretty good breakdown on it. So
okay.
It might be worth checking out.
Sean Calloway brought up the Toyota IMV that's made in Thailand. It's the IMV Zero. This is a pretty cool little truck. Like he said, it's they put it up at the Japan Mobility Show to show how it can transform itself into anything. And it's a little flatbed. Well, it's a cab and chassis, actually, is what it is. And so then you can put any bed or anything you want on it. So, like, you can make it into a coffee truck or a flatbed or like they're saying a DJ booth or whatever. This thing, they're saying it'll probably be called a Hilux Champ once it goes into production. And it could be in the neighborhood of 10 grand once it debuts in Thailand. Oh, I mean, it'll be more than that here, obviously, if it ever gets here. But they're saying that it probably won't be sold here. But somewhere down the road,
that's probably strictly because of safety issues.
Yeah, probably. It's pretty cool looking, though.
So that'll be the same for UK then.
They legalized K vehicles on public roads.
What?
Do what?
Here in Colorado this past week, they legalized K vehicles on public roads with speed limits under 55 miles an hour.
Yeah. They've done it in several other states. You can do them here, but it costs. They're exponentially more expensive if somebody's gone through the work of doing the paperwork. So the Colorado deal is going to dramatically change the market on those. Probably make the prices go up in the short term, but go down in the long term because, then somebody can just import them and doesn't have to go through a bunch of rigmarole. So that's pretty cool, So Lycan says I'd put a giant subwoofer box on the back of that IMV Zero that you could sleep in. I love that. That's a great idea. A giant sub enclosure with a door you can just climb in and sleep. That's great.
Well, that's what Lycan does for a living is plays with speakers.
Oh, yeah. Jet Black is going K meaning KEI, as Wickman put in the chat. It's refers to little bitty trucks in Japan.
Under 660 cc's.
Yeah, and they're bigger than a Cushman or a golf cart, but they're smaller. Well, I guess they're about side-by-side size for the smaller side-by-sides.
Yeah, and if somebody rear ends you between a SUV and a Silverado, they can just bury you in it.
Yes.
Yeah,
most
which I have
snub-nosed. Yeah, most of them are snub-nosed. They're like a cab over, although the motor's behind the cab underneath. Yeah. But they're mostly right-hand drive because Japan. And they're
the only thing a VW van looks at and says, "Man, you look dangerous."
Yes, exactly. But like if me and Crosby or me and Wickman were in them, like you're shoulder to shoulder. They're little. Yes, I've driven one, but they're little. They are very little, actually. But
if you got one of those and put a Hayabusa motor in it, it'd be fun.
Yes.
Which there are some of those out there. So
yeah. I think that okay, if we're going to talk engine swaps and fun things, I think a smart car with a Busa combo, a turbo Busa combo, is magical. If you're not familiar with smart cars, I mean, you know them, but you don't know anything about them, the engine is in the back. They are rear wheel drive. Yeah. And by the way,
and
they
if
were
you've ever
around for
ridden a Hayabusa, it's like, I don't know exactly how to explain them, but
yeah,
whenever we saw a new one back in the day on the road with a paper plate on it, we referred to that as the organ donor plate.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, because even like when the early days of a Hayabusa, they made 250 horsepower or something. Mm-hmm. I mean, now I think they're over 300 or something like that. I mean, they're, and a big Hayabusa back in the day was an 1100, and now don't they have like a 1600 or some damn thing? I don't know.
Yeah, a friend of mine, Jack, has a turbocharged 1300cc that he lane speed races at the Texas Mile.
The guys from Cycle World bought a brand new one, or they were given one, actually. They said they bought it. They took it and ran it at Palmdale. It ran at Palmdale at altitude. I think it ran 161 miles an hour out of the box. They just kept adding parts to it.
So that had to be what, a 9 or 10 second quarter mile?
I can't remember what they were going for. Speed numbers. They weren't going for quarter mile numbers. But they got it over 200 miles an hour. Then they found out the brakes suck.
So a 2025 Hayabusa is 1,340 cc's. Mm-hmm. It has launch control, smart cruise control.
For Imperial, that's 88 cubic inches.
Yes. They're a big bike, obviously. New for 2025, a launch control and smart cruise control. So
that is the biggest oxymoron I've ever heard in my life.
Oh yeah. It's a inline 4-cylinder with 8 injectors, ram air, all these things. Specs. 12.5 to 1 compression. How much horsepower does it make, you strokes? It doesn't say. It doesn't say how much power it makes.
Google it.
Well, I'm on Suzuki's website. Like, hello? How stupid is that?
They may not want to say.
How much horsepower does a 2025 Hayabusa have?
I think it's
and why is Suzuki too retarded to put it on their website? Oh, it says it's only 190.
No, they're more than that.
That's AI saying that. So that's not right. I don't know. It doesn't. It's 20 grand. I don't know.
Remember motorcycle. Tom McGann from the Mag Group?
Oh yeah.
Built a Hayabusa for him, and Vance and Hines built the motor. Roland drew this whole bike up, and I put it together. So they built the motor, would not build the exhaust that Roland wanted to build for it. They dynoed that motor, and it was 237 naturally aspirated. Wow.
Yeah.
And that was just basically taking it apart, cleaning it up, and balancing, doing a few little Vance and Hines tricks.
There's a company called TTS Performance that sells a Super Busa. Okay. That is, it's 56 grand. They're in Europe, but they're $56,713. It makes 400 horsepower. It's supercharged. It makes 400 horsepower, goes 218 miles an hour, and runs the quarter in less than 8.5 seconds. It's
well, there's that one company that makes a V8 block for them.
Yes. It went 840 at 178 miles an hour in the quarter.
And that was probably like being light on the throttle. I mean, because I'm sure it was spinning the tires.
Yeah. Wow. That's insane.
Well, if it had a 10-speed transmission.
Yeah, see? So I think, but a smart car with, a Hayabusa combo in it would be awesome. Without any doubt. You know what's funny though is like the smart cars.
Well, there's that one guy that's got the smart car with the big block in it.
Oh yeah, that's in the front. But yes,
the other thing only runs 11s.
It runs 1090s or 11.0 something like that.
Yeah, because I saw it at the Super Bowl at Juliet when we were up there for NMCA NMRA event.
So
yeah, I thought it's like it did like this little wheelie, and I was like, oh hey, is this the V8 smart car? Then it's like I see it and it runs 11, and I'm like, oh
yeah,
that was a disappointment.
Well, it's funny though because the smart car, like I first saw them in the late 90s in France when we were traveling for work back then, when I was working for Alcatel, which is a French telecom company. And they're and like I said, it was the late 90s. And everybody, like, so when the smart car came here to the United States was like, I don't know, it was like 10 years later or something before they came here, before they were legal here because of, all the safety stuff or whatever.
No, it was because the motor. They wouldn't motor? They wouldn't put the Mitsubishi diesel motor in them.
Oh, gotcha.
Because all the ones in Europe had that diesel motor in them.
I gotcha.
Which got like 85 miles to the gallon and almost nothing coming out of the tailpipe, and then they put this piece of crap gas motor in them that just melts the paint off everything.
Was it like a 3-cylinder or something? Or
yeah, I can't remember what it was out of, but it's just some junk motor. My uncle bought one. And the thing was horrible.
The 2008 was the first ones available in the United States. They were $12,000. They had a Mercedes, little 3-cylinder, it looks like.
Yeah.
And they got 41 miles to the gallon or something. So, yeah.
Yeah, but the diesel one in Europe was like 70-ish or something like that miles to the gallon.
Yeah, it was because it was a 799 cc diesel.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Yep.
I mean, they weren't blindingly fast, but
oh no, in Japan they sold them with a 660 cc to fit in the K car category.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, it's pretty.
But cool. You don't see them on the road over in Japan, so that kind of tells you something.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Rod Hagen's bringing up Cletus's Spark that ran $999 in the quarter with the big block in it.
That car is ridiculous. I mean, built by CJ Race Cars.
Yeah, but is it? I mean, 10.0 and I don't know. I mean, we built a shitty Fox body that ran 8s for $10,000. That's way less car than that. Like, I love it, but everybody's losing their minds like it's a 6-second car or something. It's a 10.0. I mean, it ran $999 with a 5. So it's a 10-second car. Like,
there's so much wheel hop off the line with that car. I mean, they need to get that rear suspension figured out. Once they do that, I mean, it'll drop easily half second.
Well, I would think, but that's what I don't understand. It's like, dude, if you're building this as a race car, like, I don't know. I don't get it. But it's cool looking.
The biggest ironic thing about Cletus is them building the fiberglass body for
Leroy?
Holy crap. I mean, I don't know.
I'm like, there's
but
so
I
much
mean,
irony
oh my
involved in
God.
this.
Like, I don't know all the drugs you have to do at one time to come up with that, but I guarantee you they tested every combination to come up with that. Because
I think that
I'm
was the
not
publicity
sure
stuff.
there's enough weed, blow, and LSD on the planet to come up with that on any of them on their own. So it must take a special cocktail to make that happen.
I was chewing the end of my tongue off, laughing so freaking hard when I was watching them build that body. I was like,
Star Creations built the body for that. They're the ones that build
job. That is not my point.
My
point is you take the fastest naked car out there and then you put a one-off basic funny car body on the freaking thing.
But it went faster.
Well, of course it did.
Yeah.
It's
if you put the body back on
no body on it.
If you took everything out of Leroy and put it in a Corvette, it would go faster.
Yeah. For those of you that don't know, when you go to a wind tunnel, everything in a wind tunnel is measured in horsepower. Okay. And so coefficient of drag and all those things are mathematical equations, but they measure drag in horsepower. Okay. And so that thing, if I remember right, it was like 500 horsepower worth of drag that thing made over a stock Corvette. Like, yes, taking the body off of it is a very poor idea for performance. So anything that you put on it is going to make it quicker, but that doesn't matter. It's still a face that only a mother could love. I mean, this thing is uglier than sin dipped in misery. and to make it a funny car is just
I don't know. The car doesn't have the wrap yet. It's supposed to look like a soaring eagle.
Yeah,
that's why the body's kind of the way it is.
But yeah, that just makes it even dumber. So
when Brett was trying to sort out things with the 33. He asked a IndyCar aerodynamicist, "What can I do to make this car faster?"
Oh, yeah, that's right.
And he goes, "There's nothing you can do to make it worse."
That's exactly the same way here.
But that was the thing too. It's like Star Creations made that body. And they're the same ones that
did a great job.
Oh yeah,
absolutely.
But you think about, they're the ones that make all those crazy, like asinine monster truck bodies of like the octopus.
But if you look at the work they do, is phenomenal.
From a fabrication standpoint, it's wonderful.
But it's
uglier than sin dipped in misery. Still, that doesn't matter.
No. Not my point. My point. It doesn't matter what it looks like. If you took everything out of that car and put it in a factory body car, with a hood on it, it would go faster.
Yes.
Period.
100%.
Okay. Use your fingers, cover up the front of the car and the back of the car, and tell me that doesn't look like an S10 cab.
Oh, I know it does.
I gotta go back. I gotta go back. Now you're gonna make me do it.
It looks like a chopped
a little bit. It does. It does have some S10 to it. You're right.
But the whole thing about Leroy was it was fast stick shift and no body on it. That was the whole thing about the car. Now you put a body on it to make it go faster.
Yeah.
Well, I think this was
Leroy should have left the body on it in the first place.
I think that's what a Leroy was kind of done.
I'm not picking on him, but I'm just saying.
Yes.
I just think Leroy was done as a car itself and just needed a change to do something different, and I think that's why
they put the body on internet clicks. We all know
content.
That's
exactly.
That's whatever. I don't care. But that's exactly, and we're giving him more of it by bagging on it. But if he was standing here and go,
I don't even think we're necessarily bagging on it. I'm just merely stating the irony. I'm not bagging on it.
And actually, Doug DeLay says without the body, it wasn't exactly street legal. It depends on where, but yeah, you're in most places. No, it was not street legal.
Well, it had lights on it.
But here's the deal.
I run around in a 32 Ford with no fenders on it in the state of California that doesn't have windshield wipers and has
none of those things are
3.5-inch chop with a 3-inch boulder stripe on the windshield.
Yeah,
it's not exactly legal either, but find a cop that will pull me over and give me a ticket.
Yeah, exactly. And the body not being on it isn't what makes that car illegal. What makes it illegal is that it's a C5 or C6 Corvette, whatever the hell it was. I think it was a 5 to start with.
C5, yeah.
And that has twin turbos and no cats and no any of that thing. The body is not its biggest problem.
Yeah, Crosby, I think you'll get pulled over for exhaust before you get pulled over for anything else.
Not my car.
No, it's quiet.
Oh, it is beyond quiet.
Yeah.
Really? Okay.
Oh, yeah.
That thing's probably 75 dB at 100 yards.
Yeah, it's.
I've seen the car more times than I care to count, but I've never actually heard it run. No, I take that back. I think I did hear it when you pulled away at the Roadster show.
Yeah, it is. It is beyond. Jason Wilcox at TCI calls it the UPS truck.
Yeah, I'll put it to you this way: when it had the other transmission in it, the other transmission was.
You could hear the transmission before you hear the exhaust.
Absolutely, 100%. Yes.
on the other side, I've seen videos of me driving it. On the other side, it doesn't even sound like it's running. It should sound like the Jetson. Beep, 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 beep.
Yeah, exactly. Somebody said that if they got an electric car, they'd want it to sound like the Jetsons car. You can. Most of them allow you to do different sounds.
Yeah.
Because it is a requirement that and I don't know what the number is, but at less than 5 miles an hour or whatever, the electric cars have to make noise.
Yeah.
And so
just so people in parking lots can hear something.
Yeah. So you don't get run. So people aren't just stepping out in front of you as much because they hear the car
running over pedestrians.
Yeah. So I don't know. I don't know the particulars, but I know that I've heard ones with it sounds just like the Jetsons. I think that you have options you can download to put in.
I think that'd be cool.
Hyundai has their sound is just this grinding. I can't describe what kind of sound it is, but it's like a low tone, like grinding rocks or something.
Right.
Yeah. It's just
That's
odd.
Funny.
Well, Wickham, if you got an electric car, you just put that noise your computer's making.
Okay, that's kind of funny. Not gonna lie.
My laptop's 3 years old now?
My laptop for doing the live streams is me and Neil were talking about it earlier, and I think it might be 10 years old. It's I'm shopping for a new one right now. So the last thing I'm looking at I see a little rendering chingadera for what what Leroy is supposed to look like. I'll show it to you here, and then we're going to be
letting loose the bald eagles.
Yeah, see that down there. Yeah. So
that's cool. That looks cool.
Yeah.
And again, I'm not bagging on the car.
I am. I'm bagging on the car.
I am just merely stating the obvious that you built a naked car and now you're building a body for it.
Right. Yes. Yeah, it's ironic or something.
Well, I think him and Derek Barry are trying to see who can amass the biggest car collection.
Oh, Derek has crushed Cletus years ago. Yeah, Derek's lot, the back thing. Oh, dude, no. Yeah.
Yeah.
His investment isn't a third of what Cletus has into that Corvette.
Right. Oh, yeah. I'm gonna. Yeah, I can't. I'm working on a new thing with Derek right now, and you guys will laugh, but the
when is that going to happen? By the way,
in a month and a half. So,
Are you still gonna need my help, or
maybe it'll be up at Steven's place, so I'll let you know.
Okay.
Yeah, it might be where you'd want to come up for a few days and have some fun. Yeah.
No,
for sure.
Threaten me with a good time.
I know. Yeah, exactly. We will eat and weld and drink beer.
Oh no, I think I have an idea.
Yeah. It'll be awesome. All right. So ladies and gentlemen,
we'll send you pictures and the empty beer cans.
Yes, right. Exactly. So everybody that joined us tonight, we thank you so much. In typical PowerShift fashion, we talked about what we were supposed to talk about somewhere around a third of the time, and random, detours the rest of the time. And that's why you tune in. So if that doesn't work for you, then I'm sorry. I had somebody ask the other day what episode number of PowerShift this is, because I don't put episode numbers in. It's like episode 500. I don't know. It's a jillion of them. Everybody that puts up a thing and they're like, oh my God, we're on our 50th podcast. I was on our 50th podcast 15 years ago, literally. So I don't know. Maybe I'll figure out how to count it, whatever. If I can search for that on the YouTube channel, maybe that'll make it easy. But it's a lot of them. And we have fun and we hang out and we love that you guys interact with us in the chat.
GPT.
Yeah. And if you want to, that's a good idea. If you want to,
man, I'm full of good ideas tonight. What's going on here?
Wow.
The other way around.
I know. I do like your new headphones, by the way.
Yeah, I was gonna say, give them headphones, and all of a sudden, it's like you kept all the bullshit in.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Oh yeah. Most people want me to let it out.
That's awesome.
Or just shut the fuck up.
But yeah, if you guys have ideas for the show, like I said, in 2 weeks we're planning on having Alex Hernandez on. Trust me, you want to tune in for that. We're gonna talk about sideshows and takeovers and all kinds of fun stuff. And Alex is a total character, and he makes me laugh. And he's a good dude, and he's one of my NorCal brothers. So
and Crosby's opinion on that is going to be interesting in the conversation.
Oh yeah, it's going to be great. It'll be awesome.
And Chad, I have a suggestion. I will run by you for a potential guest after that.
Okay,
see what your thoughts are on that.
And those of you that are watching, if you have guests that you'd like to see on the show, and up to and including whoever the hell you are, then that'd be great. We've tried to get Neil on the show. He won't do it. He doesn't like to be on camera. So, it's fine. No matter how much I told him he could drink beer while we did it, he still doesn't want to be on the show. But that's all right. Doug DeLay wants to be on the show. See? There you go. So if you guys are, if you have some good ideas, let us know. And again, thank you so much for tuning in. We do appreciate it.
Because if Chad lets me on, he'll let you guys on. So
shit,
he let me on. So I mean, he's scraping the bottom of the barrel. So
that's true. That is.
I wasn't going to go down that road, but since you brought it up,
I'm just speaking the truth.
Goodbye, all. Appreciate it. Crosby, thank you. Wickman, thank you. McTaggart, I hope the cat's doing all right. We'll see all of you people later next time on PowerShift.
See you guys.
Power